What you're about to see today, guys, is going to make you question reality forever. We are talking about the Mandela Effect and our collective conscious memory changing. What's really crazy is that you're going to hear what I tell you and show you as proof and evidence that this is a collective mass event happening, not just to you, but to all of us. Our memories are being altered, and so is our past. And where do you see this evidence? Because boy, oh boy, did it wake me up. And this spinning vortex right here, I actually saw in person with a lot of people as it's reported on the news, but I saw it in person in the daytime a few years ago. And are we witnessing this vortex occur right here in the middle of the street? This is crazy. Shot from multiple angles in Norway, known as the spiral lights of Norway. I saw this happen in the daytime, guys. I'm going to get into this in a moment. Guys, this is Greg White, comic book artist and writer and director from BeyondComics.tv, here to talk about the Mandela Effect, also known as the CERN or Current Effect. That company, I believe, is involved with the making of the World Wide Web as well. But there's been a lot of conspiracies about our memories being altered from what we recall. And if this theory is fake, then it wouldn't be this thing that's a collective whole. So I want to cover all these bases because there are hundreds of thousands of people claiming to all have a shared experience of our memories being changed. I'll give you a quick example. In the movie Snow White by Disney, when the queen looks at the mirror on the wall, what does she say to it? 3, 2, 1. Do you remember? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? We all remember this. There is nobody who remembers it differently. Yet, it's not like that anymore. In the original old version or the new version, it's all been erased. Now she says, magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. This is BS. I personally remember seeing it in the theater when I was a little boy and having her say, mirror, mirror on the wall, just like you do. And I know you do because we all do. And that's the thing. If the conspiracy theories are true, then they're saying that somebody or something or some effect is happening that is changing the fabric of what we consider reality. And that's a very scary thought because that means that even if the external is changed, our memories of the original version of that timeline cannot be altered internally in our brain, inside us. So in other words, this can be changed, but this inside here can't. That's a very important point. I have yet to find one of my friends who remembers it being magic mirror on the wall. And this is just one of many examples. Everything from the way the map looks to logos on pop culture cereal boxes to, I mean, I'm going to list everything and we'll go over it in a couple of minutes. But there's a lot of things that I want to cover really quickly, and I'll try to do it in a few minutes. And get your comments on it. Guys, please subscribe for updates. Make sure to post your comments below. But let's get into it right now. One of the things that they are explaining is that if something is occurring that can alter or change the timeline of the current reality and existence that we live in as we know it, then yes, this part of the world can change, meaning every physical object that manifests itself here or that's created, but as I said before, what's inside the head can't. So, why is this? What's happening? Let's give some more examples. For example, one of the big ones is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. We all remember him walking in and singing his song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. But that, is not what it says anymore. Now, if you watch it, his mouth says the, but you can clearly hear him say, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, in every video that you look on YouTube. It's insane, because we clearly remember him saying, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, not this neighborhood. So this is a very interesting thing. The Berners-Lee bears, the old book that we grew up with as children, now it's called the Berenstain Bears, S-T-A-I instead of E-I. My recollection, as all my friends also have the same recollection, is that there was a Jewish family, I think a husband and wife, named Mr. and Mrs. Berenstein, who named the book after themselves, basically. So it was the Berenstein's Bears, and now it's not. Now it's the Berenstein's Bears. Now, I have people, if you go look on YouTube, and I want you guys to personally do your own research of this, look for your old VHS of Snow White, and you're going to see when you play it, it says Magic Mirror, not Mirror Mirror. Look for the Berenstein Bears book from your childhood if you still have it or know anybody who does, or check on eBay, and it says Stains. Even the cartoonist changed to Stains, but in the TV Guide listing, it's spelled Steen. Okay, Berenstein, S-T-E-I. That's very interesting because there's certain things that don't change. Now, let's take another example, Tom Hanks's movie. Life is like a box of what? Chocolates, right? Life is like a box of chocolates. Now, this is a very crucial point that I'm about to address right here, because if you look at your old 1994, I think it was, VHS video, or the new thing, the new DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever, it's going to say life was like a box of chocolates. Was? It wasn't was. What are they talking about? And if you check the packaging on the back of the VHS tape or on the back of the DVD, it actually says life is like a box of chocolates. Interview with a vampire, but on the packaging it says interview with the vampire. So these are big changes as we recall them and remember them. Now, of course, there are phenomenons that exist about people just randomly mixing up words or making mistakes with their memory. And why is this happening only in pop culture? Well, it's not. That's the thing. It's happening in multiple areas of our lives in existence. But because we all relate to pop culture, this is something we have a shared memory of that we can compare notes on because it's popular. It's pop culture, right? So this is why we're able to refer to these examples, but there are many more that have individual reactions that we may not be able to share. I'm going to give you two of them that I have not seen listed that personally happened to me. I'd love your take on it now. So let's address this again. People are saying that they're changing these things. How about if you build it, Kevin Costner's movie, if you build it, they will come, has been changed to if you build it, he will come. He? There's no he in this. Of course it's supposed to be they. What about the whole Star Wars reference? Now this one is interesting because the Star Wars reference is Darth Vader looks at Luke. Luke says, he told me enough, he told me you killed him. And Darth Vader turns and says, no, Luke, I am your father. Right? Wrong. It says, no, pause, I am your father. There's a pause there. And he even makes the Luke gesture, but doesn't say it. Now, a lot of people, including one of my good friends who is a diehard Star Wars fanatic, I thought I was a fanatic until you meet my buddy, he's convinced that they said, no, I'm your father. But there are many people who are sure that he said, no, Luke, I'm your father. And this line has been deleted from every version of Star Wars, including the original back in the 70s, the VHS tapes before the actual edits were done. Cereal, for example, Skippy Peanut Butter. What's their competitor? Jif, right? No, but you said Jiffy. See, it's not Jiffy, it's Jif. There's a lot of different, like, little kind of minute nuances. Whip, Cool Whip spelled with a W-H-I-P instead of a W-I-P. These inverted spellings of the changes of the words. You could see a list of these things on YouTube and just search Mandela Effect and CERN Effect, and you'll understand that all of us are remembering things like mirror, mirror on the wall instead of magic mirror on the wall for a reason. It's because, as I said before, they can't change our original memory of what happened, but it will die with us, meaning that we're the generation that it will die with. And the new generation will no longer have a historical data record of the way we recall it. They will only have the new version. So little children who are born today and watch a DVD or a video are going to see it say magic mirror on the wall, and that's the way that they'll remember it. So this is an interesting kind of thing. And is someone doing it to us? Is someone messing with us, quote unquote? Or is it just completely that we're all having this mass, not hysteria, but this mass, brain confusion of our memories? I don't think so, because all of us are having the same reaction. Like I said, call up your friends and ask, does anybody think it's magic mirror on the wall? Everybody who originally saw, I guess, this up until the 80s, Anybody who was alive in the 1980s that would have seen this would remember it's mirror, mirror on the wall. So how is this being changed? Why is it? And by the way, don't even go back and bother looking for evidence of it, because all that's been changed also, which means the reality that we currently exist in has changed. But our memory of the original reality hasn't, if this theory is true. So at first I thought this was a bunch of BS until I started researching it and looking into it. And with so many hundreds of thousands of millions of people having the exact same memory experience, there's got to be something to this. It can't all be lies, right? So I want your opinions. I want you to post your comments below. But I want to give you 2 examples of something that happened to me that I have not seen posted yet. The first one is the movie Serendipity with John Cusack. I remember when this movie came out, and maybe I'm mixing this up, I admit it's possible, but I remember Jessica Biel being the co-star of it when the movie was released in theaters. When I went to go see it on television, when it was broadcast, I think HBO or Showtime, sure enough, it's Kate Beckinsale who's the actress. Now, I love Kate Beckinsale. I'm a comic book artist. I know her from her Underworld movies. So it struck me as very odd that they replaced the actress, Jessica Biel, with Kate Beckinsale. That being said, maybe I just mixed them up because she looks kind of similar to her or something like that. But I'm curious, have any of you ever had that happen with that movie? Or is that just something that maybe I mixed up? Just want your opinion about it. But if it is true what we're saying about this, of course there are some memory skips or coincidences, or we're forgetting how things might have been spelled, or we didn't focus on it. But again, with that mirror mirror example, with life is, or instead of was, like a box of chocolate, all these different changes are very, very interesting to say the least. So the big one that happened to me personally, and again, I'm a professional comic book artist, this is like my life's work. In 2013 or so, I think it was, I went to see Iron Man 3 in the movie theaters, and they had this brand new design come out at the end of the movie called the Iron Man armor, and they referred to it as the Bones armor. Bones, like skeleton. And I remember in the theater, I was with my godbrothers, and I was like, wow, look at that cool armor. It looks like an external skeleton, like they took the internal skeleton and built it around the suit. So there's like metal bones going throughout the entire design of the costume. Sure enough, a year later, Hot Toys was producing the 12-inch action figure of the Bones Iron Man action figure. And I looked at it, and I said, what the hell happened to all the bones? They're missing. It looks kind of more like a Roman robotic armor now, or some kind of a goth type of armor, you know, a Clockwork Orange kind of thing going on like that. And I was shocked that the bones are missing from the armor, but they still named it Bones. So I said, this is crazy. I must be going bananas. Let me go take the DVD or the Blu-ray and pop it in and check it out. And sure enough, on the actual disc, it's missing as well. Those bone designs are completely missing. I started looking through all my books, all the notes I had, everything that I saved on it because I love that design. All of it's gone. It's been erased from history. Only my godbrothers and I remember seeing those bones in the theater at that time, that incredible bone design. And they even named it Bones, yet the design has vanished. Now it's been replaced with this, you know, steampunk type of design for this Roman type armor for Iron Man, and we're thinking, what happened to the original Bones design? We even went on YouTube to look for like camcorder video or anything recorded of it, and sure enough, it's also missing from that. So, is this all of us just going bananas and forgetting? You might be saying, yes, it's just some stupid memory lapse you had. But again, designing superheroes like I've done here is my life's work. I remember that clear, distinct design of those little bones and the rib cage built around the armor, which is now missing from the design. It's not that anymore. There are no bones in it at all. So this led me to think, is something being changed? Then I looked and I found, of course, right here, the Mandela Effect, of course, which comes from Nelson Mandela. A lot of people thought he had died, and then sure enough he didn't, and it was released, and he was released from prison years later, and they're having these two different memories of what had occurred. I think that's how it started. But they're saying that it could be, again, the CERN, or a quantum computer that they have just built that's enormous, that they said when activated will actually break apart atoms and thus microscopic changes or minute changes to reality as we know it can occur. They actually admit this. Go YouTube this, guys, and watch this. Watch the inventor of that quantum computer say it right there in his TED Talk. I think it was a TED Talk, or it was a CERN talk or CERN talk. But watch it and see them actually discussing this stuff. So where does this lead me? This leads me to believe that it is possible that maybe it's more than just us mixing up our memories or trying to tell ourselves we remembered wrong. How could all of us remember wrong? You understand? We all know as a collective whole that it's something more to it. Even James Earl Jones in all his interviews clearly states, if you Google this as well or YouTube it, it was so exciting when I said, "No, Luke, I am your father." He says Luke in his interviews. And the writer of Interview with a Vampire refers to it as a vampire, not the vampire. Interview with a Vampire. And that's a very important point, that the creator herself of that story, or the writer, is saying that. Plus, David Letterman at the Oscars is announcing it, Interview with a Vampire. They're quoting life is like a box of chocolates, not was. So how can everybody be making a mistake? Also, if you check out the Queen song, "We are the champions of the world," that's the end of the song. That's missing too. Of course, there's a live performance of that though. So there's a lot of interesting things that have been erased as we remember it. And there is no old footage to back it up. I even went to look for my Berners-Lee's Bears books, and it says AI instead of E. So that's, again, this thought process that reality as we know it is potentially changing, which leads me to one of the final points I'm going to make, which was that spiraling moon, hence that you saw in the sky, hence me seeing it, as I said, years earlier, in Atlantic City, New Jersey, of all places, in the afternoon when I was in my 20s or late teens, early 20s. But it looked like a sun was spiraling and coming toward us. Some people said, oh, maybe it's a missile spinning, but it wouldn't do that explosive effect with that black hole in the center. When I saw it many years ago, I was on a highway with my mother in the back of a taxi, and we were driving down this highway in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we saw what appeared to be a spinning sun coming toward us. I never really mentioned it before because I didn't want people to think that we were bonkers for saying this, but now that the video is all over YouTube, shot from multiple angles, now you see it's true. And what we saw was this giant ball of fire spiraling toward us, getting bigger and bigger. We stopped the car, we all got out of the car, the taxi driver was freaking out, people were pulling over on the road. But of course at this time, this was before the internet took off, so there wasn't a lot of people talking about this outside of the group that saw it. And then suddenly it starts spiraling backwards until it vanished into a puff, right? And that's exactly what happens in the video if you search Spiral Lights of Norway, which I think happened in 2009 or so. You can see it from Australia, they said, and they have multiple camera angles showing this. And you see what appears to be almost like a black hole opening up in the middle, or that spiral jumping into a giant circle. Some people are saying it's a vortex or a time portal or whatever. Again, we don't know. But it's interesting to see, is there a connection? Is somebody going through time, like Back to the Future, and changing a little something? For example, let's say there's some time traveler, if you believe in that stuff, and he comes back in time, or she comes back in time, and she tries to stop, or they try to stop some kind of major event from occurring. Maybe they work for the CIA, who knows, right? But you're not supposed to touch or change anything. So let's say they're hungry, they eat a banana, they throw the banana peel on the floor, and then sure enough, somebody, let's say like George Lucas, walks by and slips on it, falls, hits his head, and then suddenly forgets to have the line occur in Star Wars, Luke, I'm your father, and then everybody remembers it as Luke from the original timeline, but since that little change occurred as an accident, these little pop culture changes are occurring as well. Or maybe he hits his head and forgets and just can't do Star Wars at all, and then suddenly Star Wars is erased from our collective conscious or our memory, but we remember it from the first life that we had led, if you know what I'm saying. So again, this is a very outlandish, crazy way to think. It's very science fiction, if you will, or sci-fi-ish. But it's interesting to realize that we all remember something being different than it is, all of us. And that leads us to say, hey, you know what, let's not ignore it. Why don't we question it, and let's see if there's anything to this. Is there an alternate reality or universe? I went to school with Jerry O'Connell, who was in a TV show called Sliders. And we would always talk as kids about these parallel universes that are existing. He was also on a show called My Secret Identity where he played a superhero. So it was an interesting kind of paradox to see these things occurring now in reality and people being able to upload their stories and see their reactions. So guys, I encourage you to go to YouTube. I encourage you to search for the Mandela Effect and do your own research and post your comments below. Post what you think. Is this total BS? Is it just a quick memory glitch or a brain fart as how we remember things? Or is there something more to it? I think it's both. I think, honestly, that there's a lot of stuff that we're just remembering wrong, like the spelling of certain names or logos or whatever that we never paid attention to. And I also think things like Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, which still remains in the original writings, I think from the 1800s or whatever it was, but in the Disney movie is now Magic Mirror on the Wall. I know it wasn't that. I remember. You can't force me to remember it differently than I do. So my question to you guys is, what do you think? Conspiracy? Is someone doing it to mess with us? To mess with us? Is it something that's being done as a test to see if this quantum machine can actually change things, and they're just doing little tests purposely to see if it affects the consciousness of people or their memories or how we remember things? Or is it, again, just a complete coincidence? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to post your comments below. Make sure to subscribe. And guys, has anybody have that memory that I'm talking about with the Iron Man armor having the skeletal structure of the bones built around the bone armor of Iron Man? I really love to hear if anybody else remembers it that way as well, and also the Serendipity movie. So again, post your comments below. Make sure to subscribe. Greg White from BeyondComics.tv saying, don't forget, it's always fun to imagine. See you next time.